Prabhuji, are we ready, Prabhu?
I'm ready, Prabhu. You just tell me if it is okay to start. I can start.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have the association of His Grace, Prasannatma Balaram Prabhu, who will be sharing the nectar from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 5, chapter number 18, and Sloka number 37. Prabhuji, over to you, Prabhuji. We can get started.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to do a small seva. I hope my voice is okay. Audio, videos,
Yes,
all.
Prabhu. It's very clear, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, so devotees, Hare Krishna and then pranams to all of you. So we'll get started now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So, like Prabhu was saying, we are looking at the 5th canto, chapter 18, the verse number 37. So just let me know if you can see the screen that I've just started to share. I hope you're able to see now. Okay, so the verse is like this. Dravya kriya hetvayanesha kartribhir maya gunair vastu nirikshitatmane anvikshayaan ghatishayatma buddhibhir nirhastamaya kritaye namo namaha. Just read it once more. Dravya kriya hetvayanesha kartribhir maya gunair vastu nirikshitatmane anvikshayaan gatisayatma buddhibhir nirhastamaya kritaye namo namaha. So I'll not read the synonyms. We'll go to the translation and then the purport. Translation by Srila Prabhupada and the purport also by Prabhupada. Prabhupada Ki Jai. The translation: the objects of material enjoyment, that is sound, form, taste, touch, and smell. Then the activities of the senses, the controllers of sensory activities, the demigods, the body, eternal time, and egotism are all creations of your material energy. Those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your eternal energy. They can also see your transcendental form as the super soul in the background of everything. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you. In the purport, Prabhupada is saying, the objects of material enjoyment, the sensory activities, attachment to sensual pleasure, the body, false egotism, and so on, are produced by the Lord's external energy Maya. The background of all these activities is the living being, and the director of the living beings is the Supersoul. The living being is not the all in all. He is directed by the Supersoul. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Krishna confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mathasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. So it means I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The living entity depends on the super soul for directions. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge or a person expert in the practice of mystic yoga, yama, niyama, asana, and so on, can understand transcendence either as Paramatma or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the original cause of all natural events. Therefore, he is described as Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. Behind everything visible to our material eyes is some cause, and one who can see the original cause of all causes, Lord Krishna, can actually see. Krishna, the Satchidananda Vigraha, is the background of everything, as he himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. मय्याधक्षेण प्रकृति सूयते सचराचरम हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय jagat So which means this material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So this is the verse that we are going to discuss today. Hare Krishna. सोमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितां येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम तत्सत हरे कृष्णा So before we get started with this verse, I'm just seeking the blessings of all the devotees here, senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Kindly bless me so that I'll be able to do some justice to this wonderful shloka. I'm doing this for the pleasure of the Lordships, as a service to the Guru Parampara and for my own purification. Hare Krishna. So this particular verse is actually in the 18th chapter, and 18th chapter is the prayers offered to the Lord by the residents of Jambudvipa. So in this today we are looking at verse number 37. It's almost coming to the end of this particular chapter. So here, just the background, like you all are aware, the prayers offered by the residents of Jambudvipa. So there are 9 tracts of land in the Jambudvipa, and each of these tract of land, there is a particular form of the Supreme Lord that is being worshipped by the prominent personality who is in that particular tract of land. So this is the background, and then we can actually see how here goddess Earth, that is Bhudevi, she is actually, sorry, she is worshipping the Lord in this particular place, I mean, this tract called as Kuru Varsha, that is earth. And the form that is being worshipped is the Varaha Rupa that is being worshipped, because for Bhudevi, it's Varaha who actually comes and saves him. So that's what the thing. And this is what we are seeing in the shlokas from 34 to 39. So 37 is part of that. But 36 and 37 shlokas are very important or very critical here, because in this the Lord is revealing how only through bhakti one can understand the Lord. Or rather, the prayer is such that the aspect of bhakti, which is the only aspect for revealing the Lord, is coming out in these verses. So here in verse number 37, there are two things that we need to be, they will take as the key points and then try to discuss more on that. So here the first one is how the Lord is Sarva Karana Karanam. So that is one aspect that we'll try to see. And then we'll also look at what is Nirartha Maya Kritaye. So that's the word that we saw. Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. So what is Nirasta Maya Kritaye? And how the Lord is Sarva Karana Karanam. So these are two aspects that we'll try to discuss. So actually, if you look at just read the meaning once more. Sorry, I'm toggling between screens. 1 second. Okay, in the translation, Prabhupada is saying the objects of material enjoyment. What are the objects of material enjoyment? Because we enjoy the material world through the 5 senses. So these become the objects of material enjoyment. That is sound, form, taste, touch, and smell. To give a quick example, sound is when you hear music. This is generally the material enjoyment form aspect. So through the ears, that is the sound. Then form, that is with the help of the eyes, we see a form which is beautiful, and then there is enjoyment there. Taste by tongue, and then the taste. Touch, of course, the skin or the hands, then there's touch. And then smell, that is again through the nose. And these are the various ways in which material enjoyment happens. So the activities, that all of this together is called as the objects of material enjoyment. Then the activities of the senses, the controllers of the sensory activities, that is the demigods. Then the body that we occupy, eternal time and egotism are all creations of your material energy. This is how the prayer is going. Those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your external energy. So what is this external energy of the Lord? So we also call it as the Maya Shakti or the Mahamaya potency. They can also see your transcendental form as super soul in the background of everything. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Namo Namaha. So here, seeing the transcendental form as the super soul is the aspect or the expansion of Shirodaka Sai Vishnu. So we know that how Shirodaka Sai Vishnu in the material world is actually lying on the Shirasagar, and he is also expanded to each and every individual. And then he has gone in and then as Paramatma, and that is the aspect of the feature of the Lord that is being highlighted here for the prayer and then the discussion thereof. Okay. And now, what are these aspects? See, we just saw, we understand when we say Sarva Karana Karanam, we know through the scriptures, through the various lectures that we have been hearing, and through the Srimad Bhagavatam, through Bhagavad Gita, we understand how the Lord is the cause for everything, right from the beginning, from creation onwards. So who's behind all this? Especially when there is some action that is happening, and then we think, oh, okay, this person is responsible, that person is responsible. Whenever some bad things happen, we try to blame the others. Whenever some good things are happening, then we say it is because of me. So we just limit our analysis or our deep dive up to that particular point only. But here in this verse, the prayer is slightly different, where they are saying that the cause for everything is the Lord. And the Lord as super soul is directing us internally as well as externally also. More so internally because he is present as Paramatma and he is giving directions. How do we know that? That again in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is talking about how he is seated in the hearts, and then he is the cause for remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matasmrithir jnanam apohanam cha. That's the first part of that verse. And then where he says that everything that you have, that is remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, all of that is because of me. And this is coming from me who's seated in your heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. So spiritually advanced people can actually see this in this way, and they can understand the transcendence either as Paramatma or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now, if you look at, there are many other verses or aspects that we need to be aware of. So there is one particular verse which I would like to take reference of, which is in the Bhagavad Gita. So 4.24. So some of you might be aware of this particular verse. Brahmarpanam Brahmahaver Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena Ganthavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So what does this mean? It says the person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So now, if you look at the last part, the concluding part of this translation, where it says the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Here in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining how everything is Brahman, or the origin of everything is Brahman. So that is why you see this word Brahman coming up in many times in this particular verse. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir. And then Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam. Then Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So here it is talking about how even in that reference where there is an yajna that is happening, the person who's sitting is also coming from Brahman. The thing that is offered to the fire is also Brahman, that is the ghee, and then that is also from Brahman, the source is of Brahman. Then the spoon or the ladle that is used to offer is also coming from Brahman, it's not coming from anywhere else. And then where is this offering going? It is going to the fire, which is also Brahman. So the one who's offering, what is being offered, and who's accepting, everything is Brahman. So this universality of Brahman is being highlighted in this particular verse. And that's how then we thought it would be relevant for us to understand look at this particular verse as a reference. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada is saying that the Lord is spiritual and the rays of his transcendental body are called as Brahma Jyoti. This we are aware. Then his spiritual, which is called his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in Brahma Jyoti, and when the Jyoti is covered by illusion or Maya or sense gratification, it is called material. So, the source of everything, whether it is spiritual or material, is from Brahman only. So that is why here it is said that everything is Brahman. The material veil has to be removed, or the Maya illusion, Maya Javinika Channam, that is what Kunti Maharani is saying in her prayers, where it says that it has to be removed, and then once that is removed, then everything becomes spiritual. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering, I just said that, or contribution, the process of consumption, that is the fire, which is consuming the ghee in that example, the contributor, the person who is sitting, and the result are all combined together, the Brahman. So everything is Brahman, but still there is so much of variegatedness or differentiation, and that is how the Lord creates. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter, when it is dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth, regains its spiritual quality. How do we remove this particular veil of Maya? That is by dovetailing our activities, or when matter is used and it is dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth, which means that in our mind we have this proper consciousness, which then immediately assists or helps us to remove that veil of Maya. And so Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in Samadhi, Prabhupada is saying, or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna, or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer, or the leader of the performance, and the result or the ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the absolute, the Supreme Brahman. This is the method of Krishna consciousness. So though it looks a little confusing, but then actually it is very simple. It's just that underlying aspect is that everything is coming from Brahman, and so everything has to be aligned to Brahman. And now if everything has to be aligned to Brahman, that means then we will have to realize that everything belongs to Brahman. So in this way, this particular shloka actually is giving us a nice insight into how one should perceive the things that we utilize. And then there is also this particular aspect about how what is visible to us. I mean, see, when we look at this particular shloka, it might look like we are actually promoting, or it is moving towards Advaita, right? But then if you look at this particular shloka itself, what we are seeing for today, where I said the Sarva Karana Karanam, there are two words that we will discuss on, I said. One is the Sarva Karana Karanam, and then the other one is what was that? Just try to recall 1 second. Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. So what is this Nirasta Maya Kritaye? We will try to dwell on that a little bit. So now, when we look at Sarva Karana Karanam, it looks like everything is aligned to, and then it's that Advaita aspect is being brought out, or it looks like we are moving towards Advaita. I was just talking about Brahman, everything being Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. But in the prayer, there is another word that is there, which is Nirhasta Maya Kritaye. So this Nirhasta Maya Kritaye means the one who is devoid of all Maya. So that means you create through Maya, but you are devoid of Maya. So here there is a very clear distinction that is being drawn out to tell how everything else is different from the Lord. So now you have made this creation. We know that the Lord made the creation, or He created by glance. And then if you look at other religious texts also, they talk about let there be creation, and then there was creation. So it is all, we realize the potency of the Lord, we can understand by these things that we read, or by these verses, where we know that the Lord is very powerful, and then He can create however. So just by in His mind, by just glancing, and then He can set it into motion, and then one after another the things happen automatically. So that's the kind of potency that the Lord possesses. So then whatever is created and whoever is the creation, these two, even though they look similar, but they are different. So that is how then in the prayer, this aspect of Nirasta Maya Kritaye, that means one who is, Nirasta means completely freed from, and Maya is the illusionary energy, and Akritaye, whose form? That means we are talking about the form. We are talking about how the form is not connected to Maya, or it is completely free from Maya. So here, the difference between the super soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the rest of his creation is being brought out here, where it is very clearly mentioned that the Lord is not in Maya. Avajananti mama moda manishum tanum ashritam, where if you think that the Lord is part of this Maya or material, then you are a fool. That is what Krishna is saying. So in this way, the aspect of variegatedness or the aspect of Advaita is running through, even though it looks like it is, the aspect of Dvaita is running through, even though it looks like everything, it is tending towards Advaita. So, but then it is not like that, because up to the understanding of Brahman, then we realize that there is oneness. But then once we look at the other features of the Lord, then there is variegatedness, or there is Advaita, or there is a difference between the Supreme Lord, who is the creator, and the created, or the objects that are created. Now, the objects that are created, or from whom we have come, that is the aspect of how we are all marginal energies. And then marginal energies means Tatastha Shakti. Even though we are coming from the internal energy of the Lord, we are still marginal. And the whole of creation is happening through internal energy of the Lord as well as the external energy of the Lord. This is for our understanding. Just to make sure that we comprehend this, we say there is something called as internal energy and then the external energy. And then internal energy has got the material, the spiritual creation is part of the internal energy. And then we are also part of the internal energy. So we as in the jivas. And then, but then we have a small difference there. We are not exactly the internal energy, but we are separated, variegated expansions of the Lord, which means that we are still not connected to the Lord once after the creation. So we are not we are part and parcel. So we are like the Lord, but then we are separated. So Prabhupada gives that one wonderful example of a spark that has come out of the fire. So though it is coming from the fire, but it is separated. It is coming out of the fire. Even though it has the nature of the fire, which is it can burn, but then the potency that is there in a spark is very, very, very minimal, minute than compared to the big fire that is blazing. So the spark that has come out. So that is how we can understand that we are all spiritual sparks who are separated from the Lord. So this Bheda Tattva is to be understood and comprehended and kept with us always as we move on with the discussion. Otherwise, it might confuse us, or we might think, oh, everything is Brahman, so this looks like some Mayavat kind of a verse or an impersonal kind of a verse. No. So here, Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. Akriti, that means there is a form, and then that form is outside Maya, and it is not connected to Maya. And that is the Supreme Personality of God. So in this way, the difference is being told. Then, when we look at our senses, we are generally very proud of our senses. Who isn't proud of his own senses, his or her own senses? Everybody is. And that's the nature of the material world. But then what happens? Like if you look at the modern scientists, they also use the senses to understand the material world. Senses including the mind and as well as the intelligence, so all of it together. So we call this particular creation as the phenomenal world. So we know that. So phenomenal means there is always something happening. There is a cause and an effect in this particular world. You do like this, then you get a result which is like this. So this cause and effect is always there. So now that is the phenomenal world. So in this phenomenal world, the scientists who are considering themselves as intelligent, they try to find the reason why this is happening. And then as per our senses, we try to understand. So there is too much of dependency on our senses. But in the Adhyatmika study, we have to understand that the senses are not, they are part of the material creation only. And there is a limitation. And this limitation prevents us from understanding the absolute, or understanding those things which are beyond the material creation, which is Adhyatmika or spiritual. So if we have to understand the spiritual, then we cannot use our material capabilities to understand, or our senses to understand. So that is why the Lord is called as adhokshaja. We can't understand the Lord with our material senses. Then what is the process then? What is the procedure? So, because even Lord Brahma, when he was born or when he came into being, then he looked around and then he wanted to understand why he is here, what is the purpose. He wanted to know what it is, why am I here. He wanted to realize all these transcendental things. And so he sits and then for meditation. Now, when he's sitting and meditating, what he is doing, he's using all his senses to understand something which is beyond the material aspect. Now he sits and meditates for 100 years and then he understands finally. What does he understand? He understands that I cannot understand anything on my own, or I cannot understand transcendence on my own. So this is the proper understanding, Prabhupada says. The very fact that you understand that you cannot understand completely is a proper understanding, or it is the beginning of the right understanding. So I hope that's not confusing, but I think it's pretty simple and clear. So using the material senses that are at our disposal and trying to understand is not recommended. Then what is the solution? The solution is also there. So that solution is Bhakti Yoga. Now, how does Bhakti Yoga become the solution? That is because in Bhakti Yoga, we use our senses, but we use it for serving the Lord. And when we use it for serving the Lord, then it becomes spiritualized, or the material covering disappears. Taking the same example. How does that happen? There is this particular verse where it says, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. That is what is Bhakti. Bhakti Ruchyate. So now, Bhakti Yoga means using our senses for serving the Lord. So the point is how one needs to use the senses. So using of the senses for understanding the Lord or is not recommended. But using our senses to serve the Lord is what is recommended. And when we serve the Lord with our senses, then the understanding comes. So the understanding has to be given by the Lord. So we cannot on our own understand things, because for everything the Lord is the Sarvakarana Karana, or Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto, Matasmrutur Jnanam Apohanam Cha. We saw all those verses. Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. So taking all this, we can understand that it's not my effort which is going to bear the result, which is having some understanding of the Lord, using the material senses that are with me. So the only way to do that is to connect to the spiritual. So we'll have to spiritualize our action. When our action becomes spiritualized, even though we use material positions or material abilities which are in our possession, still it becomes spiritual, and then the understanding comes because it pleases the Lord, and then the Lord, by his mercy, he gives us that understanding. So when we begin to understand like this, the material covering becomes thinner and thinner. Earlier, the material covering is so thick that we had no clue. But then just by doing some actions for the Lord, even though we are using our material capabilities, but then we will be able to spiritualize it. And this is what Prabhupada says. And this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. This is another perspective of looking at it. We are not discussing anything new, but we're just trying to look at it from a philosophical point of view, from a constitutional point of view, like how we are. Because otherwise people might think, oh, this is just sentimentalism. No, this is not sentimentalism, because we understand what is creation. We understand, as in the scriptures, who is God, what are his various energies that are there. There are multiple energies of the Lord. So these are some of the energies that we have taken as an example to understand, for our understanding, that is. And then from there, then the energy and energetic are separated. Prabhupada has so explicitly said in his lectures, where the creator and the created is different, where the energy and the energetic are different. And he gives the example of sun and then the sunlight, or the energy of sun. So sun is different, the energy of sun is different, or the sunlight is different. They can be same also, because it is coming from there. It's the source of the sunlight is the sun. So in that aspect, they are same, but then sunlight is different from sun. So in this way, we know how the creation and then the created and the creator are different. And then we also understand how the Lord, as part of the creation, created the material world because of the need of certain living entities who actually wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna. So he has to create a place which is independent of Krishna, but there can't be any place which is independent of Krishna. So the Krishna's influence or the effect has to be covered. And that covering is the Maya covering. So you use the energy of the Lord, which is Maya is again, what is Maya? Maya Devi is again the energy of the Lord, which is external energy. Use that to cover himself. So how do we understand this? Prabhupada gives a wonderful analogy of the sun and then how the sun sometimes gets covered by the cloud. So it becomes so dark. Now the cloud, where is the cloud coming from? Cloud is because of the sun only, or the sunlight, or the sun rays, or the heat of the sun, which evaporates the water and then it goes into the atmosphere and then a cloud is formed. So the cause of the cloud is the sun, and it covers the sun only. So like that, the Maya is from the Lord, and then Maya covers Krishna so that the person who are on the other side of Maya will not have awareness of Krishna, and thereby the facilitation happens for enjoyment independent of Krishna, because that is the desire that certain individuals wanted to have. And so to facilitate that, Krishna created this particular scenario. So this is how our acharyas have explained the aspect of creation. We may not understand many things of the creation, which loka, where, Ilavata Varsha, that, this, and then the whole creation. So many of the things we may not understand, but we'll have to now realize that anyway I will not understand. But the main crux of what I need to understand is that I'm in a place where I shouldn't be, and I am covered by a certain Maya covering, which is hindering me from realizing myself or realizing the Supreme Lord. And that realization can happen by the use of the same energy of mind, which is inadequate, but then I still use it in the proper consciousness so that I'll be able to reconnect. So depending, based on what is at our disposal. At our disposal, what is there? Everything is material. What is at our disposal? Our intelligence, our mind, our senses, everything. But Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhaktiruchyate. So this is a very key word that we will have to remember. There's only one thing that we have to remember, which is Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam. That's it. So if we are able to carry out this in the proper consciousness, then the Lord's mercy begins to flow. So in this way, it looks like it's a little bit of a closed loop, but then it's not exactly a closed loop. It's a logic, and there is so much of intelligence in the arrangement that the Lord has made. And even though it looks like a closed door, but then there is an opening for us, and that opening is by surrender, by listening, by accepting the scriptures, what is given in the Vedas, in the scriptures, what our acharyas have said, what our parampara is talking about, and what is Srimad Bhagavatam telling, what is Bhagavad Gita telling. So we will then develop the surrender mood. And once we are surrendered, then the Lord begins to give us the intelligence, because He is the one who is giving us the intelligence. Mata srutir jnanam apohanam cha. So this way, we saw some wonderful analogies. But then this is how we need to progress. But if you just step back and then look at what the material world is doing. Now, where is this disconnect between a practicing devotee and the material world? We'll try to dwell on that a little bit. See, now, if you look at the material world, then I said before, there are these scientists who are proud of their senses, and then through their senses, they want to analyze. So there is nothing wrong there. They are also using their senses and their intelligence, their mind and everything. So now when they use this, they don't use it completely. They only use it in a very limited way, because there is a what do you say, an inadequacy in this particular senses, because we know that our senses are defective. There are these 4 things that are there for an individual, which is from the scriptures. So, but we know that our senses are limited, and it is our senses are defective, or it is under Maya. It is illusion rather than saying it defective. So Prabhupada gives that wonderful example. You're so much proud of your power of seeing, but when there is no light, then you cannot see a thing. You cannot even look at your own palm when there is pitch darkness. So you need light and then you will be able to see. So there is a dependency on light. The light is again, the source is Krishna because Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. So we know from that particular verse that how the Lord is the reason for the light that is there. It is coming from the Lord. So now, if you look at, Matas Sarvam Pravartate, that's the verse, I'll just complete it. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Matas Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajante Mam, Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. It's the intelligent who will look at it this way. What way? That everything is emanating from the Lord. And then, so the only reason for me is to do devotional service. So that's how that verse goes. So here, we know that the Lord is, the reason for our this thing is that everything is coming from the Lord, and then the material scientist or the regular materialistic people, they don't go deep because the senses are imperfect, but they don't realize that, and then they try to use that senses to measure something. So whatever measurement you make out of your senses is going to be defective. It is like you have a wrong equipment with you and then you want to measure the distance. The result you will get, that is the distance, is going to be defective only. It will not come out correctly. If you have a scale which is defective, and then you use that scale to measure the distance between point A and B, it will not give you the right result because the scale itself is defective. Like that, our senses are defective, and then we try to understand using the senses, which is not recommended. And that is intelligence. Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. The person who is intelligent understands this. Whereas the person who is still en route to intelligence, that is the materialistic people, they will try to gauge things, measure things. So they'll say like, what is the reason? Sarva Karana Karanam is unknown to them. So they will not go all the way up till there. But they understand the concept. So either there is a cause, then there is an immediate cause, there is a next level cause, there's a next level cause. They understand that, but they are not going the full length. That is because their intelligence is covered. So now, for example, let us say anything that happens, like an iPhone. Somebody created an iPhone. Now, the iPhone, what is the cost for this iPhone? There are multiple causes for this iPhone. But they don't attribute all of that. They only attribute the cost of this iPhone to that individual who brought it out. With due respects to that individual, because he used his intelligence, but that intelligence we realize is coming from Krishna. So this is how the devotee is able to see beyond. And then the devotee is also able to see how the iPhone, the object iPhone came from earth, because from earth only you get everything, what is made. And then to intelligence to make that iPhone came from a Chetana or an individual. And the intelligence of that person, the background to that intelligence is Krishna, because Krishna is the one. If you read the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, very clearly Krishna talks about how he is behind everything. Balam Balavatam, I am the strength in the strong, I am the intelligence of the intelligent. And all of that he talks about how everything is from Krishna. And then he says, finally he concludes by saying, but Arjuna, why do you need to know all this? What is the point? Just understand that Eko Amshena Sthito Jagat, just by a small, minute spark of my energy, all this creation happens, even though this creation looks wonderful. After describing everything in detail, he says, this is all nothing but just small thing, a small portion of my energy, and that's all. So just try to understand that. So in this way, Krishna is talking about how he is different from the rest of the creation, and how we can only understand him by his mercy. And our own effort is needed, but just our effort is not enough. And the best example for that is the materialistic scientists who are putting a lot of effort. There is a lot of hard work, there is good intent, they want to get to get behind the scheme of things. They want to know the actual reason why things are happening. They have a good intent. All of that is there, but then they are not able to move further because the process that they are following is not correct. The process that they are following is the ascending process. That is the Arohana Panta, or trying to find out from bottom up approach, which is not correct. The best way to acquire knowledge is descending process or avarohana panta or what is coming down. So for us, we follow the descending process. We look at what is there and then just accept it. Whereas because there is no acceptance, there is no faith, they want to find out. It's like Prabhupada gives that example. If because we refer to the authority, so thereby we get the information straight out. Whereas for them, it's a difficult process. It is like Prabhupada gives this example. If you want to know who's your father, then you have to ask the authority. You don't have to ask anybody. But so asking the authority and then getting the knowledge is the descending process. From the source, you get the knowledge. But then if you are not convinced of this, or there is no faith in that, then you want to go around finding. So you go around asking everybody, are you my father? Are you my father? It's a very funny, stupid, silly situation and a very embarrassing situation. So this is not recommended. This ascending process becomes futile when we have to understand certain aspects, which is not okay. So that is why that is not recommended. Whereas the material scientists have this aspect and then they stop off at a certain point and they think this is the reason. Why this is happening is because they don't understand creation. So just take a little more time, because this aspect of creation we need to understand. When we understand creation and how it is created and the completeness of the creation, what comes after what, then we will realize how the causes are not just limited to certain thing, but it goes beyond that. Like, for example, in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is one particular chapter which talks about cause of all causes. So now in this, Naradji is actually asking Brahma. Brahma and Narad, they are like, one is the father, the son. So Narada is the son, he is asking Brahma, please tell me how this whole creation happens, and then who created it, how it is conserved, and under whose control it is there. And he says, Father, I see that you are very powerful, and I see you do a lot of things because under you, I mean, everything is moving on. It looks like you're creating many things and that kind of a thing. But I also see that you are seeking knowledge, or to do all this, you are actually meditating, or you're dwelling on certain things, you're contemplating. Who are you meditating upon? It is like saying, okay, you are an expert, you did all this, but I also see that you're referring to some book every time. Sometimes when you don't get it, you refer and then come and then do it. So who has written that book? So that person becomes more important, right? I mean, it's logical for us to draw that conclusion. In the same way, Narad Muni is also drawing that conclusion, where he says, what is the source of your knowledge, Father? He is asking. And then he says that even though you do so many wonderful things, what is the source of your knowledge? Then after that, Brahma is actually saying, thank you for asking this question, and then you're helping me and others by this question. So let me explain. And then he dwells into this topic of Sarva Karana Karanam, which is elaborately explained in this second canto of the 5th chapter, where it goes, Brahmaji is going on to say how he also is deriving from the Supreme Lord Krishna. And that is how that concept of Sarga and then Visarga is there. Out of the 10 characteristics of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sarga is the creation and Visarga is called as a secondary creation. So the first creation, that is the creation of the Lord, is Sarga, and Visarga is the secondary creation, that is the creation of Brahmaji. So if you have to understand this a little bit better, if you take Earth itself, our living planet, so where somebody has created Earth, and then someone else comes and then he creates a building. But the ingredients for the building is from the Earth only. And when the building is demolished, then all the ingredients go back to Earth. So he has not created anything on his own, but still some credit is given for the building that is being put up. And that is secondary creation, that is Visarga. And that is how Brahmaji, even though the Mahatattva was there, and then from there, then he created all the planetary systems, etc., using the ingredients of Mahatattva. So in this way, we can understand by the example of building and earth, how everything goes back to earth. In the same way, the creation continues. And then, if there is one particular aspect I'll just read here, So which I thought would be important. See, we know that the material energy is covering that is there. Now, in the purport, in the same in the 19th verse of that particular second canto, Prabhupada is mentioning this. This external energy of the Lord covers up the pure knowledge of the living entity. What is happening to us? Our pure knowledge is covered. Externally exists, which is eternally existing within us. We as living entities, that is a soul, have this pure knowledge, but it gets covered. But the covering is so constant that it appears that the conditioned soul is ignorant or he has forgotten. Such is the wonderful action of Maya. So Maya, whatever, when she does the job, she does it perfectly. So our external energy manifested as if materially produced. So by the covering power of the material energy, that is Maya Shakti, the material scientists cannot look beyond the material causes. So their intelligence will work only up to material causes. But factually, which means actually behind the material manifestations, that is the material things that we see, there is this aspect of Adi Bhuta, Adhyatmika and Adi Devika actions, which the conditioned soul in the mode of ignorance cannot see or comprehend. So here now the Adi Bhuta manifestation entails repetition of birth and death with old age and disease. How is that? Where is the link? Adi Bhuta means what? It is to do with other living entities. So the Adi Bhuta manifestation means the interactions that happen with other living entities, and the interactions that happen with other entities is the cause or the reason for our birth and repeat births especially, and then old age disease. That is the aspect of karma that is coming in here. So this aspect is actually looked into. I mean, I'll not say it is understood by a devotee, but at least the devotee realizes that there is something more. It's being considered or looked into. That is the Adibhuta manifestation. Then the Adhyatma manifestation is the condition of the spirit soul. That means internal. In what condition I am? I am in Sattva-guna, Tamo-guna, Rajo-guna, which is more predominant, what it is. So why I am having this propensity to crib? Why I have this propensity to be negative? Why I have this propensity to be positive? All of this is because of the Adhyatma manifestation. And then there is also this Adideva manifestation, which is a controlling system. So we wonder why floods are happening. They make an analysis and a study. Okay, there are many material reasons why it happened, but then we also have to realize that it is the Adidevika Shakti that is coming into force, and because of that, there is earthquake, famine, and all of these things that are happening, which is beyond, and that is because we have forgotten the Aradhana of Krishna, and because of which there is a problem, or because of collective karma. So there is a whole lot of system that is functioning, which we are oblivious to in the material condition, and don't look at that or don't consider that. So that is why I said it is incomplete. It is not complete, whatever analysis they do. So the proper analysis is to understand Adibhuta, Adhyatma, and Adidevika actions or material manifestations and understand their working. So Adideva manifestation is the arrangement of demigods who are there and then why they are there, and each of them have a certain function, and then you have to please them, you have to do yajnas, or you please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically everybody is pleased. So it is like watering the root of the plant. So like this, we have an understanding which is beyond this material nature, or what is beyond material obvious things which are there, which the senses can perceive, looking beyond that. And that is very important for a practicing devotee. That is one of the hallmarks of a practicing devotee, because unless we develop that, we will not be able to make any progress. We are not headed in the right direction. Sometimes with all this knowledge, practical application may not be there. Applying it practically when it comes to our own self, like say something wrong happened to me, then this entire philosophy is kept aside, even though we might understand it or I might apprehend it to some extent, but then it is put aside because other forces, conditioning aspect is so much that other forces come into play. Ego comes into play, and then we don't think about it, but then we still sit, plan, and endeavor and try to execute and do all of that, keeping Krishna out of it and say, let me solve this problem and then I will go here, and we come to our own logic. So we'll see how we make mistakes when we try to separate these two out, and then we become like those material scientists trying to look for a cause. Whereas having this complete understanding at all times becomes very much necessary. And such prayers, which we are seeing for today, helps us to remember or re-remember these things, so that we are constantly in touch with these finer aspects of things. Thereby, the proper remembrance comes when it is needed. So we depend on Krishna for that. Whatever I have heard or I agree to when I read or listen to lectures, let me remember those things when it is needed the most. That is when I am judging, concluding, when there are certain things that happen to me, and then I try to judge, conclude, or do some action to counter it and all that. Let me also take into consideration these other aspects of Adi Devika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Adhyatmika also, and how these manifestations are part of the creation. And then only then my solution will be complete, or my endeavor to find a solution will be more complete and more permanent it will be. Otherwise, it will be like a band-aid treatment. Prabhupada uses that phrase, where it is just band-aid treatment for a deep wound, which is not possible or which is not correct. So on this note, I'll stop here. It is already 8:11. So if there are any comments or questions on whatever we discussed, kindly go ahead. Or if anybody wants to add anything, most welcome. Hare Krishna, and thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for a very nice class. I think it's a bit technical, as you mentioned, because there are certain aspects that may seem that it is actually touching upon the impersonal aspect, but I think you very beautifully explained, Prabhu. Thank you. The devotees may please unmute the line and share your questions or comments, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, the wonderful class, but what we know, it is more, you have explained this in more. It was very nice. I just have one doubt, Prabhu. Like this, all this, the researchers, they go on trying to find out some solution. Because recently I've just heard, I was just talking with one company people, they're just finding out a gadget. By just applying it, it will record all the parameters of the blood. There's no need to draw the blood. That's a new invention which are they make. Like this, they go on doing it. It is like their job. But if they have the gratitude to the Lord, that is good now, Prabhu. Because we cannot stop from doing this thing. It is, a man goes on. You cannot stop doing things.
Yeah.
Is that right attitude, that they should have gratitude to the Supreme Lord?
Yes, Mataji. Like you rightly mentioned, we cannot remain without doing any work. It's said in the Bhagavad Gita also, where that is why a person who is an expert will not induce people to stop work, but they will induce them to work based on their nature, but then they will fine-tune it towards Krishna, or they will dovetail it, not fine-tune, dovetail it for Krishna. We used that word before also. So bringing that aspect of Krishna consciousness is very, very important. And that is what Prabhupada wants all of us to do. So while we are okay, you can have an invention. I mean, that's a wonderful invention to have. If you don't have to remove blood, you don't put somebody into inconvenience and all of those things that are happening. But then you are able to find out in a different way. Now, to find it out, to find a cure, even if we are successful, Prabhupada says, like, what is the point in doing all of this if that extra, like, say, Prabhupada gives that example, no? If you, let's say your life gets extended by 10 years, what are you going to do with that 10 years? Prabhupada says. So that doesn't mean that medical research or this thing is not important. It becomes important, or it becomes Purnam, it becomes complete, if that extended 10 years is used for Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam or Bhakti Yoga, if we continue to do, then there is some meaning to the whole thing. Otherwise, Shama eva hi kevalam. Otherwise, it is like waste of time. What is waste of time? The extended life is also waste of time. And the various aspects that went into extending the life is also a waste of time. Because you extended something and then you just let it go. You added more karmas to you, because by living for 100 more years, 10 more years in this example, we ended up incurring more karma. And thereby, then, you made sure that we extend our stay here. We extended our repetitions of birth and death. We extended our disease and our old age and all of that based on the activities or whom all we inconvenienced when we went about getting this facility for ourselves. So yeah, coming to keeping Krishna's view is very, very important. And all these texts help us in that. Some of us will get drawn by something based on our liking. Some of us will get drawn by something else. Some of them want a lot of philosophy. Somebody wants not so much of philosophy. It's okay. And even in that philosophy, certain things are more appealing to some, certain others are not appealing to some. That's all right. But as long as we are finding some appeal somewhere and then we are able to build on it and come to the right conclusion about being Krishna conscious, then I think that whole aspect of whatever you do materially also becomes spiritualized. I know it's a very open statement I'm making, because it could be misinterpreted in whichever way. But the fact remains that if we are able to do it in the proper consciousness, then we are making headway. So we are not against the invention, but we are against what is the result of that invention and how it is used in the current day. I hope that answers what you are asking. I don't know.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam.
Any other questions or comments from the devotees? I think there are no questions, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Wonderful class.
Thank you.
And we can end today's session with the Vaishnava Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu. We can end. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo vacha padidana pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gurudev ki jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Dagor Sitanath Paramanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you once again, Prabhu, for the opportunity. Hare Krishna, and Krishna to all of you.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, devotees. I will end the Zoom session now. Krishna willing, we'll meet again tomorrow morning, same time. Hare Krishna.